questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Scarborough Rouge River.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member, in delivering his speech, I'm not sure whether it was his speech or whether it was the propagandist on the other side of the wall there, but I'll assume that he understands the bill fully and not just what's been prepared for him here, and I know he sits on one of the committees that deals with these things. But he mentioned some sections that he agreed with here in the amendments. Two things he didn't mention, and I'm wondering what he thinks. Firstly, the criterion under subparagraph G, it simply says the offender's health. Does that mean good health or bad health or indeterminate health, or what kind of health? What kind of a consideration is that when it doesn't really have any meaning? Secondly, subparagraph L. At the very end of all of the considerations the minister has, it says, any other factor that the minister considers relevant. Well, why bother having any factors at all if at the end of it the minister can take into consideration any factor the minister considers relevant? How is that even charter compliant when there are no boundaries put on these considerations?
For Edmonton St. Albert.
Well, I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for his good questions. They are technical, and I think I can add certainly my interpretation as a lawyer as to what these provisions mean. When I read G, the offender's health, to me, the offender's health, if the offender is in a state of poor health or in health that requires some imminent treatment, I believe that that's a factor that will be weighed in the offender's application positively. That's my interpretation of that provision. And with respect to the discretionary provision in section L, any other factor that the minister considers relevant, as the member knows, and I think as all members who study these issues ought to know, I mean, different countries have different prison systems. It's impossible to predict with any sort of clarity or any certainty exactly what type of situation that prisoner might be facing and what kind of conditions that prisoner might be facing abroad, or his or her personal circumstances that led him to run afoul of the law in whatever foreign country he finds himself. So the discretionary provision that's contained in paragraph L, I think, is most appropriate, because there may be a situation where there is a very relevant factor that ought to be considered but doesn't fit neatly in paragraphs A through K. So provision or paragraph L allows the minister to consider a specific and unique issue or consideration under a unique circumstance and when it might be appropriate.
Comments?